I'm up way too early for me, but we're going to see the new Dragon Ball Z film. Today's the last day that we can go see it. It's Dragon Ball Z Fukatsu no F, or Resurrection of F, the new Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods sequel. And Chu and I went to see the first one in theaters the day it came out, but we didn't get an opportunity to this year because it was the day after my birthday and then we were leaving for our trip and things like that. But we're going to go see it today real quick. On the last day, it starts at 11, so I actually need to get going. And then maybe Chu, but at least I am going to go apply for another apartment. So, woo! Hopefully it goes well. Birthday balloon! So, spoiler-free-ish review of Dragon Ball Z Resurrection of Frieza. Or, I'm sorry, Resurrection F. Because the name wasn't silly enough already. Your thoughts, go.
Not enough Trunks.
Except for the flashback scene.
Ever.
Alright, so I liked it. It was good. It was action-packed. It was fun. But they did a similar thing to what they did in Battle of Gods that was a problem for me in terms of making it actually seem like I lost the word. Like, that the threat is serious. Like, there's a serious threat from Frieza. Because in the show, in most of the movies, the side characters are actually important fighters to the fight. Now, sure, when you get to a point where the villain's like, okay, I'm in my final form, and knocks them all out, and then Goku and Vegeta show up and kick butt. But they at least matter. And literally, they spent like 20 minutes in this movie saying, oh, we don't have this character here for this reason. Oh, we don't have this character here for this reason. Oh, Goten and Trunks, you know, who can fuse and do freaking Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and probably be pretty important. It's too dangerous for them. And then freaking Android 18 was just like, oh, I'm more powerful than you. And Krillin's like, yeah, but you should stay here with the baby. And I'm just like... And granted, they had some side characters. They had Master Roshi going into his badass mode, which we haven't seen for a very long time. Krillin, Tien, Piccolo, and Gohan. And don't even get me started on Gohan yet. And they had this awesome, you know, they were fighting like 1,000... Chu's over there laughing at me.
It's just really... Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But they had this, you know, they were fighting 1,000 warriors or whatever. And they had this awesome, just Dynasty Warriors-esque fight. Like, it was seriously built up like Dynasty Warriors. Oh, and they had Jacko, the space cadet. He was really cool. And they just sat there.
And they had Bulma.
And they had Bulma. Yeah, she was covering the ice cream.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'd take some out with their basic attacks, and then they'd build up, like, a super attack, and then they go back to their basic... You know, totally a Dynasty Warriors fight, and that was really, really cool. But there was no, like... when it came to actually fighting Frieza, you know, this wasn't like Super Android 18 or Cooler or anything like that. It wasn't, let's all go take our shots at him as best as we can, just because that's kind of important. It was, oh, we can't even touch him. Let's literally wait for Goku.
Right.
Literally, oh wait, he can't be here yet. Please wait, Frieza. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Freaking Gohan. Okay, this is... Gohan, towards the Majin Buu saga, which they actually reference in this movie, which is cool. They did that in the last one too, but they actually reference like how important Majin Buu was. Towards that saga, they made this big deal about how Gohan potentially is the strongest fighter out of all of them. He has all this potential, and while they never, I guess, fully unlocked that potential, he was a freaking badass. He was strong as can be. And they just totally nerfed him. They put him in a tracksuit, asked him what's up with the tracksuit. He said, I don't know, it just happened. Hey, Gohan, you been training? Nope. And then he can still go Super Saiyan 2, but he does nothing. Gohan never does nothing in anything, anything. Even in the last movie, he did the Super Saiyan Man stuff and was goofy, but he still could fight. And in this movie, he took one punch and was done. And Gohan, very, very important. They put more
Piccolo was more important than
Gohan. Piccolo
and that never happens.
And that hasn't happened since, like, the Cell Saga.
I thought Krillin was probably more important.
Krillin, yeah!
He carried the sensu beans.
Oh yeah, they had sensu beans, which we haven't seen in a long time either, conveniently. And it just...
Child yelling?
Random kid yelling. It just blows me away that they're gonna take one of the strongest characters in the show and and I see what they were doing. This movie, it looks like it's building up for the show, the new Dragon Ball Super show, and they're building up some sort of dynamic with Goku and Vegeta, and that's gonna go somewhere, theoretically in the show. But from what I've heard about Dragon Ball Super, it's actually gonna focus on the whole Trunks timeline, time travel stuff, which is why they brought in Jacko, and they talked about how time travel was bad, and they even they reanimated the scene of Super Saiyan Trunks killing Frieza back in the Cell Saga, or pre-Cell Saga, and that was really cool to see, like, all done in high definition and stuff, even though it was, like, for 5 seconds. So I don't know exactly why they're doing this direction if that show's gonna focus on Trunks, but, like, so much could have been done, and it was just, oh, by the way, we got some Super Saiyan gods. I don't know how I feel about that. The stakes didn't, that's what I was wanting to say. The stakes didn't feel high enough for Frieza to be destroying the planet, and then they're just throwing around the idea that Beerus can destroy the planet at will. That just, like, totally negates the fact that they're fighting Frieza if Beerus is just gonna do it over, like, some ice cream. Like, why does it matter then? It just kills it for it to literally just be a Goku and Vegeta fight. And that bothers me. And for, I don't know.
From my perspective, okay, I have been out of DBZ for a very long time. I haven't consistently watched the show or movies since I was probably a teenager. And coming into this movie and the last one, it was pretty nice to have so much comedy because I didn't have to worry about being too invested. It was just like, you know, goofing around, the nostalgia factor, whatever. That being said, there was a very good balance of comedy back in the original series whenever, like you said, everyone was fighting Boo, and it was totally ridiculous. There was always humor, usually in every episode, and it still felt threatening. It still felt significant. And especially, you know, my two favorite characters growing up were Gohan and Trunks. Obviously, I didn't really expect to see Trunks, even with the fusion. Like, I just didn't expect to see that happening. But Gohan I expected them to do a little bit more with.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, I don't know, it might be good for returning people to just, you know, be reminded, I like this show, it's kind of goofy, it's kind of badass, whatever. And, I think this series will be good, but as a movie, sitting there for, what was it, like an hour and a half, or 2 hours?
120 minutes, so 2 hours.
I was like you, I didn't feel like anyone, and especially, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it was very clear, like, what sort of things they were planning to happen. Like, they set it up, so, and maybe I was just a kid, so I didn't recognize these things back then. But they just set it up so clearly, and you didn't feel enthralled in it.
Yeah, they literally had dialogue to explain their plot devices, which it was a thing that they did in the past, but still feels cheesy as an adult trying to take it somewhat seriously now. And that's, I recognize that that's my problem, as I'm trying to take Dragon Ball Z seriously, and I realize that's bad.
That's why I was laughing.
Even compare, like, I've watched, and I'll go back and watch a million times the older movies. There's still a stark difference. Like, the older movies compared to these, there's a stark difference of it being serious and it being fan service. Mm-hmm. And that was what I said about Battle of Gods, was that it was fan service, and that was fine. And it looks like these two are kind of going together. It's like the fan service to say, hey, come back to us, we're doing a new show. And I get that, but I expected it to be a fan service movie and then a movie. Because the Dragon Ball Z movies were so much better than the actual show. They had that really good balance of comedy and seriousness, but they did what realistically should have been done with the bosses that they couldn't do in the show because they had to stretch it out so long, and there was no filler. And to me, the movies in the original series were some of the best of Dragon Ball Z, and this doesn't fit that. There wasn't the stakes of Broly or Cooler or anything like that. It was just, hey, remember season 1, guys? And,
exactly.
And so we did a flashback to season 1. We did a flashback, or this was flashback to season 1. Next would be the first movie was a flashback to season 3. Are we gonna have another Cell movie like in between there? Android Saga.
Oh God, what if? That'd be
Android
kind of
18
cool to
goes
see
evil
her
or
like
something.
go back on.
I wanted to see her fight or something.
That pissed me off so much. Like,
did she fight in the first one? I feel like she's fought in something. It might have just been.
I think she did like one mediocre thing, and that was it.
Because I know she went off in GT, but GT doesn't exist now. So
yeah.
And so I get that they actually balanced the fan service probably decently well here, because in the first movie they had a bunch of characters that they didn't have in this movie, and vice versa. Like we had comedic perv Master Roshi versus badass Master Roshi. And then we had like Yamcha and Chaozu and Goten and Trunks, which they were just like, oh yeah, we can't bring them today. Sorry. In this movie. So it's like they were just trying to balance all the cast so they could bring them all back slowly. but it still kind of bugged me when it's like we're leaving some of the best fighters at home. And
it was very clumsy. Like you said, the characters constantly stated the plot devices.
Yeah.
And even they went into a lot of depth about the differences between Vegeta and Goku, and you know what makes them good fighters, what makes them bad fighters, etc., etc.
they didn't go anywhere with it.
I knew all of that shit when I was watching the series before. I didn't need to be told that, and I
Yeah.
don't think anyone really needs to be told that because their characters are so distinct.
Right. And they didn't go anywhere with it. That was the problem. That seemed like the whole movie was building up to Vegeta and Goku building off of each other for something bigger, or, you know, balancing their types. And they literally ended the movie saying, "Do you want to cooperate?" "No." "Okay, that's what I want. I don't want to either." So they built up this whole movie to describe their differences and not go anywhere with it. Like, give us Super Saiyan God Gogeta or something and it might make sense. But in that regard, I have to assume that they're going to have some sort of role like that in the show. But again, I've heard nothing like that, so I don't...
Right. The thing is, it seems clear that it's going to build up to that in the series.
But that may be like the end.
Right, but they started this off with both of them being like, "I'm a Super Saiyan God, I've grown so much and gotten so stronger." You need to tone that down a little.
Sorry.
And that was at the very beginning of the movie. Well, not the very beginning, but very early on. And I don't know, I feel like that sort of thing should have been saved for the end.
Yeah, instead of having that build-up where all the characters and their brothers like go and fight the bad guy and use all their power, and then Goku's like, "Oh yeah, I have this super secret move." They literally just said, "Okay, final forms first, here we go."
Yeah.
"Okay, by the way, there's a secret final form. Okay, here you go." And then that was it. And it was a fun movie, it was a Dragon Ball Z movie, but I just seriously hope they're doing something great with the show, or else it could be a waste of really good opportunity. Like, the production value and what, you know, their freedom without having to super kidify it, they could do so much that they had in the older movies, and they didn't.
The thing that I expect with the series, though, is that this exact thing could be pretty good for this series, with a little less, like, you know, holding your hand through the plot, because seriously, what Dragon Ball Z plot is complicated.
Right.
But, I mean...
The nonsensical time travel part.
The way that a lot of things were handled, I think, would be great in a show, because, you know, you just sit down for 20 minutes, and then you leave it, then you go sit down for another 20 minutes. It's not, you know, you don't marathon it, usually. But for a movie, like I said, it was too much for 2 hours. Having
the first season of Dragon Ball Super being fighting Golden Vegeta, or Golden Frieza all over again, you know, like, just basically kind of like a redo of the first part of the show, but with all the new stuff, would have been really cool.
I don't know about that, because one thing that I always hated about those big boss fights was that it took, like, fucking 10 episodes.
Yeah, but...
I didn't...
I get that. I felt like it still was not enough even for a movie. Like you said, watching that go on for 2 hours still felt a bit much.
Yeah, so I guess...
So breaking it up into small bursts would have made a lot more sense to me. Because it was literally the same fight. Like, they just...
Yeah.
Like, nothing more dynamic happened. Nothing... It didn't need to be put together. They still took breaks, and they still, like... You know, I don't know. Alright, it's hot.
Yeah,
we're gonna go.
Why did we do this in the car?
I don't know. Bye.
Bye.
Well, the apartment thing actually went better than anticipated, and it went fairly quickly too, because I didn't actually end up applying just yet. I still am going to apply, but we have some financial things to consider before actually applying. But in a sense, that's a good thing. The sales manager person lady was actually a lot more helpful regarding this whole situation of moving and, you know, what I have to consider for moving in than anyone else I've ever talked to regarding this. So she was just extremely helpful. She had a lot of information she dumped on me. And I think she ended up thinking I had sticker shock about the deposits, because she was telling me the deposits, and I guess I was making some faces as I was trying to digest everything. And she seemed to kind of think that I was having sticker shock of how much they're asking for deposit, because she kept trying to, like, justify it. When overall, I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. I knew it was going to be expensive for, you know, first-time deposit stuff. But it was just a lot of information, because it's more than anyone's thrown on me. And so, I'm super appreciative of that. The place was actually kind of pretty and nice looking, and they had a big old nice fancy pool right next to the office, and a bunch of kids were having a good time and stuff. I felt a lot more comfortable with my decisions after that. So, that's really good. Chu and I are going to take the weekend and figure out what we want to do. Got lots of videos uploading for the future and some stuff I got to work on, including that new printer over there. But for now, I'm going to enjoy my DiGiorno pizza. This video is not brought to you by DiGiorno. Enjoy my DiGiorno pizza and watch a couple YouTube videos before I get to work.